weeks ago, I was able to see the Honda City up close, and I was really impressed with its look, space, and features. And if you want to see that video, you can click here. Now, it's really nice to see subcompact cars evolve from being budget-friendly appliances that get you from point A to point B to something that exudes a bit more attitude and even triggers some excitement. But the question is, does the Honda City drive as well as it looks? Well, there's only one way to find out. So this is the Honda City RS, the top of the line model, with a spoiler, a rear diffuser, and sports pedals. But if you're thinking that the RS badge stands for something fancy like rally sport or racing sedan, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it actually stands for road sailing. And I know what you're thinking. Road sailing? What on earth is that? Well, that's Honda's lingo for something that connotes a boat that sails on land. And I know that means the exact opposite of everything sporty, but for a subcompact sedan that's intended to be a daily driver, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because what you have here is a subcompact sedan that is extremely spacious and delivers an extremely pleasant ride. And this may still have a torsion beam suspension at the back, but Honda went to great lengths to reduce friction for the front suspension to greatly improve the ride quality. And compared to the previous model, it really shows. And speaking of the previous model, this has also improved in terms of NVH, because Honda reduced the number of areas where the noise can seep through. Plus, they've added thicker insulation, so what you get is a really quiet cabin. But what also adds to the driving experience is just how well designed this cabin is. It looks and feels good. For starters, these seats are really comfortable. They provide good bolstering and enough thigh support, so taking this out on a long drive won't feel tiring. And this armrest is a nice touch. Plus, you also have really good visibility of your surroundings. So driving this is extremely easy. Then there's the ergonomics. Everything is just so intuitive and easy to use. And everything is also well within reach. Now, as far as the infotainment system is concerned, there are physical buttons, but I do wish there was a volume knob, although that isn't much of an issue because you do get volume controls on the steering wheel. So you can operate most of the functions here without taking your eyes off the road. Given all the space and amenities here, it's really easy to forget that you're in a subcompact car. It really feels like you're in something a lot bigger, and dare I say, more luxurious. I mean, not many subcompact cars have air vents at the back. Heck, some don't even have a dome light or armrests. And this has it all. But we haven't really covered what matters most to the person sitting behind the wheel. And on paper, things actually look pretty good. Because under the hood, there's that 1.5-liter IV-Tech double overhead cam engine that pumps out 119 horsepower and 145 Newton meters of torque, which is pretty good numbers. But like I always say, numbers don't always tell the whole story. And this does come with a CVT. So let's see what it's like to accelerate this thing hard. Okay, so there is that CVT drone, as expected. But compared to the previous model, since this has a bit more torque, and the torque comes earlier on in the rev range, the droning isn't that bad because you can still feel the pulling power. However, the CVT does take some of the fun out of the equation. Now, I'm gonna put it in sport mode to see what it's like using the paddle shifters. Okay, so there's still a bit of drone, and the paddle shifters are supposed to emulate shifting gears. And what it really does is it just plays with the revs, but it does allow you to rev all the way to the red line. And what's supposed to sound like first gear, no, what's supposed to feel like first gear sounds like first gear, but actually feels like second gear, if that makes any sense. But here's the thing. Most folks who buy this won't drive it as aggressively, and hence, they probably won't even notice that it has a CVT. And throughout the car's lifetime with them, they may not even hear that droning effect. Because if you allow this to accelerate at its own pace, it delivers the power quite smoothly, and there's more than enough of it, especially for a car this light. So you can think of this car's transmission as its Achilles heel, which only becomes evident if you drive it really hard. But despite my minor qualm with the CVT, this car offers so much more to make up for it. And besides all the good things I mentioned about its ride quality, in terms of handling, this also delivers the goods pretty well. Because it always feels planted, and there's hardly any body roll. And despite it having a torsion beam suspension at the back, you hardly feel any flexing. The car always feels extremely planted, which means that you can change directions abruptly and corner at speed without having a nerve-shattering experience. Then there's the steering, which is pretty light, but still offers a good amount of feedback. And the steering ratio is also really quick, which is inherent in a lot of Hondas these days. So that means that the car responds very quickly to your steering inputs. Overall, this thing is a breeze to drive because it offers great visibility and it's just so easy to use. You can get used to driving this thing in no time. And I think that's what matters more to most people in the market for a subcompact car. And if you're not driving this thing hard or beating the living daylights out of it, there really isn't anything to complain about. So the Honda City may not be the sportiest thing to drive out there, but if you're in the market for something that's easy and relaxing to drive, then this will certainly put a smile on your face. And in terms of aesthetics, features, functionality, and space, I think this is currently the class leader.